All right, I was reading Bleeding Cool, and they did a review for Ironman, and if you read these like far left-wing comic media mafia groups, they shill for almost everything. They will give comics that are just basic run-of-the-mill dog feather comics like Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, whatever, just garbage. They'll give it like a 9 out of 10. And so normal people would read that and go, wait a minute, you mean like all the stuff pre-1990 when comics were actually good, all that stuff was just a 10 out of 10? You're saying 2020 dog garbage comics are 1 point better than the creme de la creme of the 80s and 70s? That's insane. But they shill. Anyway, so Bleeding Fool gave it a bad review. Iron Man, the latest Iron Man reboot, which is, pathetic enough. They gave it a bad review. I was shocked. So we'll take a look at that in a second. Some quick thoughts about comics in general. Marvel's stay losing. Make women pretty? Is that too much to ask? That there's a whole lot of rampant heterosexuality. And you know what? Even it's not toxic male gaze or anything like that. Women like to see pretty women. Oh, in case you didn't know, that's a woman. And don't be racist against people of European descent. Don't be racist against anyone. Don't speak about one group in a more derogatory way than you would speak about another group. Use that as your guideline. There's a scene in this where he tells her that her Chinese sucks. There's two Chinese people speaking languages to Chinese Mandarin to each other, but they don't. One was born in America and doesn't speak it very well. Fair enough. So she says, "Well, your English sucks." But then he turns around and he says that the Westerners are racist. If you're writing this, when you sit down and write, use that rule of thumb. Would you, if you could swap the scenes, would you feel uncomfortable swapping the scenes? Yes, you would. And I'm not saying if you swap the scenes, you would get up and go, "Oh my God, this is horribly racist." No. It's just a little bit of, it's going to rub people the wrong way. Like, you're going to, if you're selling this in any Asian country and you said this about Asians, it's going to rub them the wrong way. And the guy who's drawing this and writing this are probably Asian. Then swap around. If it would make those customers feel uncomfortable, then it is making your Western audience feel uncomfortable. And you've already got something that's not selling very well. Why would you continue to hurt yourself? And as it turns out, to be 100% with you, Asians are they're very, very, very racist. They're not shy about it. If you don't believe me, go look at the Black Panther advertising in China versus America. Go look at the Disney Star Wars advertising. The difference in the posters for Chinese versus America. In Black Panther, the character in American didn't have his mask on. In China, he was wearing his mask. And Star Wars poster, they just got rid of Finn for the Chinese audience. So Chinese people are not shy about foreigners. Anyway, when you do this kind of stuff, you lose a big chunk of your audience. You draw people like this. That's his sister. Let's take a little look at his sister in action. He's fighting his sister, and if you take a quick look at this screen, you'll see that she's actually more, her deltoids, her biceps and triceps, she's got a lower body fat, and she's got more muscles than he is. The only way you look like that, most men don't look like that, and women definitely do not look like that without growth hormone, and a couple of shots of Deca and some, clenbuterol to help you cut, and some ECA and all that kind of stuff. This is insane. This is just insane. Dial all of this back. You got this Asian female character, make her 120 pounds or 130 pounds, lean and muscular, but you got to give her like big B's or a small C or something. You got to give people something to look at. You're losing your audience when you do this kind of stuff. Oh, and the Ta-Nehisi coats in memory of Black Panther. Fair enough. Get someone else to do it. This kind of stuff, again, you're just rubbing people the wrong way. And I'm sure the people at Marvel would get immediately defensive about this. And it's not whether or not you have the right to say it it's not any of that. I'm just talking about from a purely pragmatic business standpoint. Are you rubbing people the wrong way? Yes. And Marvel and the Soyboys will say, well, screw them. We don't need their money. You're not getting it. Eventually, you're not getting it. Now, they're going to read this. They already paid for the comic when they bought it. They got it. This is not going to, they're not going to return it. They can't. I mean, I don't see how you could. They're less likely to buy the next one. If they see this again, they're less likely to buy it. People do not like Ta-Nehisi Coates. You can go through his Twitter. He said some abhorrent things. Absolutely laughing at the situation in South Africa. Brutal, sick stuff like Louis Farrakhan level stuff. Those tweets, as far as I know, they're still up there. He's a divider. He's not a uniter. This is like what I was talking about the other day. I said the scary thing about this is that they're not interested in money. It's not like that's a motive most people can understand. Oh, or sell a product, give people what they want, make money, profit, be happy. They are willing to sacrifice money for propaganda. And you see the propaganda they're pushing. It's sick stuff. Anyway, I know some of the people in the comics community, comics in general, they've got this fantasy of comics coming back. They are never coming back. If you enjoy the graphic storytelling format, then Comicsgate and indie comics, whether you're anti-Comicsgate or pro-Comicsgate, this independent market stuff, it's your only option. For Marvel to change would require a fundamental shift in thinking at the top, and that's not going to happen. They have already shown that they're willing to die on this hill of wokeness. They wouldn't be here where they are if there was any chance of change. They've come way too far. They haven't changed from moderate normies into insane, intolerant leftists. This is who they have always been. They're not changing. They're revealing themselves. They really do hate the reader based on skin color, religion, and sex. You don't understand how soy these people are. And I was listening to this other small comics channel. The guy was interviewing B. Clay Moore, so I'm assuming they're probably anti-Comicsgate. The host and the guest were talking about toxic masculinity. These are two guys probably in their 50s. But they were still soy boys. Both were, well, one guy was obese and B. Clay Moore is just fat, submissive and passive aggressive. They love the idea of toxic masculinity because it gives them an excuse to overeat and play video games. If you took these fat soy pussies and you just cut their calories in half, as the pounds started dropping off, their attitudes would change. As the body changes, the mind follows, not to get too zen. All of a sudden, they look at the crowd of fatties around them and they realize that their passive-aggressive view of life is caused by overeating. The concept of toxic masculinity is a coping mechanism for sour grapes. I'm not saying if they eat less that they're going to become hard right-wing conservatives, but they will change. They're not going to be passive-aggressive because they won't be jealous. What will happen is that the other obese soy people will be more passive-aggressive to them. They literally believe eating less is toxic masculinity or supports the patriarchy. No, that's all Marxist bullshit to excuse you eating like a hobbit. The hobbits spent all day gardening. They could eat a second breakfast. They walked all the way to Mordor. These fat soy people would drive across a parking lot to get fast food. So these guys are on board this whole concept of hating real men because they don't identify as such. They know that they've got to sort of be on board with this woke stuff. Otherwise, the crowd will turn on them and remind them of their penis privilege because hatred of normal, healthy people is their identity. Otherwise, they got to admit that they're just people who overeat and play video games. That builds a lot of resentment, which is why they are bitter, backstabbing, passive-aggressive vaginas. God, I hate these people so very much. If you look at the Antifa mugshots, they are all disgusting. Most look subhuman, inbred. They look like science experiments. I mean, I'm not saying that the Patriot guys are models, but they look normal, and they don't look like they're just driven by bitter, passive-aggressive rage. Antifa is so ugly that they scare the horses. Anyway, it's these people who say that they support the butt plug agenda of mainstream comics, the Cena Gracing of comics. They don't buy them, but they support the idea of the comics, which is why their projects don't do as well on Kickstarter. They will retweet you, but they're not about to pull out the credit card. Anyway, so you introduce a female character. Great. This is an opportunity. Oh, what's this? Where'd my tits go? Great. Good job there, buddy. Way to shit all over your audience. Just stay winning, Marvel.